So much has been said on the question of whether Harry Potter is good for us to read or not, so what could this video possibly add to the discussion? The Harry Potter debate was in its zenith in the late 90s and early 2000s, but at that time, much of the material I'm about to show you did not yet exist. We are also now in the position of having decades of Harry Potter consumption behind us, and we can now evaluate the long-term fruits of it. In this video, I'm going to let an ex-satanic high wizard and an exorcist do most of the talking. These types of people are on the front lines of spiritual warfare. They are familiar with the tactics of the enemy and would be the first to know whether there is an element in our culture that is being used for evil or not. So I'm going to present arguments that Harry Potter fans have made in favor of the books, and then I'm going to have my various experts, one of whom is the author of the books herself, speak to those points. And I will be saving the more extraordinary statements for last, so you will want to listen through. Defense number 1. Magic isn't real, so it would be superstitious to think that Harry Potter could be harmful in this way. So my first clip here is from Zachary King, an ex-satanic high wizard. King has given numerous interviews about his conversion to Catholicism. His story is fascinating, and I highly recommend listening to his most recent interview on EWTN.
For 10 years of my life, I watched magic movies. And I went to my Baptist preacher and my parents and asked them, is magic real? Is that something I can do? And they both said no, that magic was just something that you saw like David Copperfield do, or Doug Henning, or in a movie. Apparently, the Baptist preacher and my parents never read the 33 verses in the Bible where God says not to do magical things.
So as King mentions, the Bible has a lot to say about magic and sorcery, but I think it is also salient to point out that many saints have also spoken on this subject. St. Patrick, when he wrote his famous Lorica prayer in the 5th century, prayed to be delivered, quote, from the spells of witches and smiths and wizards, unquote. In this next clip, King is going to tell us about his first experiences with magic at age 10.
This kid, my age, asked me to meet him in the bathroom at the first break. Well, the first break's at 10:20. And at 10:20, I saunter into the bathroom. I don't know why I'm meeting this kid there, but there's 49 other kids in the bathroom. So now there's 50 of us, boys and girls in the same bathroom, and they say we're going to turn out the light and chant this Bloody Mary phrase, and if you do it right, the spirit of a burn victim will show up in the mirror. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I doubted that worked, but sure, why not? Let's try that. So somebody turns out the light, and we chant the phrase, and suddenly, spirit of a burn victim shows up in the mirror. Now, it's really a demon, and what you've done is a spell. And we did that. Demonic face shows up. 49 screaming kids ran out of the bathroom. One kid, we'll say he's an idiot. I can say that about a child because it was me. Thought, that is the coolest thing in the world. I said that. I made that face appear. That's power.
So what is actually needed for a magic spell to work?
Well, to make a magic spell real, you need repetition, intention, and demonic presence. So I obviously had demonic presence because the demon showed up. Intention, I wanted that face to show up. And repetition, the game is repetition. You say it over and over again. But everybody in the school is saying it over and over again because we all have the intention to see this face. Now, obviously, other people were getting results because people were leaving the bathroom in a panic, screaming, and people got trampled and hurt. So I wasn't the only one getting results. And if you look up the game now, it's in multiple scary movies. There's a lot of YouTube videos about it. There's people that know that it works. As well as, it's popular enough that there's a company that makes the Bloody Mary mirror, that you can buy. I think the full price of that is $129. Who would possibly buy that if they didn't know anything about it?
Defense number 2. The magic in Harry Potter is fairy tale magic. The spells aren't real, and the series has nothing to do with the occult. So let's have the author of the Harry Potter books, J.K. Rowling herself, speak to this point.
I do a certain amount of research, and folklore is quite important in the books. So where I'm mentioning a creature or a spell that people used to believe genuinely worked, of course it didn't, but that's, it's still a very picturesque and a very comical world in some ways, then I will find out exactly what the words were, and I will find out exactly what the characteristics of that creature or ghost was supposed to be.
So we just heard Rowling herself acknowledge that about 1/3 of the spells in her books are from real occult sources, though she does poo-poo the notion that they would actually work. So I'm going to have America's most well-known and respected exorcist, Father Chad Ripperger, comment on the idea of whether or not the spells in Harry Potter are real, meaning, do they work?
J.K. Rowling went to witch school before she wrote the books. The spells in the books are actual spells. How do we know that? Well, because witches tell us they're real. And there was a woman in Spain who decided to try the spell for fire in one of the books, and it burned her house to the ground.
Defense number 3. I just won't try or practice any of the spells in Harry Potter, and I will tell my child to do the same.
There is an exorcist that I know who's a friend of mine. He and I are always comparing notes on Judas, because Judas is a hard guy to get out of people. He has had to exorcise 3 children just for reading the books.
If you are Catholic, think about the St. Benedict medal, which has an exorcism on it. Now, that exorcism is quote-unquote active, whether you are looking at the medal, reading the medal, whether the medal is covered up. If that medal is in your house or on your person, it is a signpost telling the devil to stay away. Well, the reverse can also be true. Whether or not you are looking at the words of an occult spell, reading the words, whether the words are covered up, if those words are in your house or on your person, it can be a signpost to the devil that says, "Open for business." It is also difficult to deny the unique allurement towards the occult that Harry Potter has to its readers. In studies done by the Barna Research Group, it was revealed that 12%, which is 1 out of 8, of Christian students said that Harry Potter increased their personal interest in witchcraft. Defense number 4. You are ignoring all of the good things about Harry Potter. What about the great themes like that of self-sacrificial love? The good characters in Harry Potter are actually quite virtuous.
The other thing is that there's a lot of glorification of certain disorders, very subtle, like it's okay to lie, it's okay, there's certain things, it's okay to do evil things from time to time in order to get a good thing to come as a result of it.
Before he became Pope Benedict, Cardinal Ratzinger said of the Harry Potter books, quote, "Those are subtle seductions, which act unnoticed and by this deeply distort Christianity in the soul, before it can grow properly," unquote. Father Gabriele Amorth, now deceased, was the Vatican's chief exorcist and a protege of Padre Pio. Father Amorth has said of Harry Potter, quote, "You start off with Harry Potter, who comes across as a likable wizard, but you end up with the devil. There is no doubt that the signature of the Prince of Darkness is clearly within these books. In Harry Potter, the devil acts in a crafty and covert manner, under the guise of extraordinary powers, magic spells, and curses," unquote. Father Amorth further stated that the books make a misleading distinction between white and black magic, when in reality the division, quote, "does not exist because magic is always a turn to the devil," unquote. I do not disagree that characters from Harry Potter practice various virtues from time to time. The big question here is, When weighed in the balance, can defects in a story, such as the practice and glorification of demonic and occult practices, the blurring of the line between good and evil, and other, quote, subtle seductions that distort Christianity, be excused because some characters also exhibit virtues? The wife of our ex-wizard, Zachary King, posted this on social media, quote, "The sheer number of people who have sought occult through either Wiccan or blatant satanic sources after getting involved in these books is shocking. Our ministry works closely with several exorcists, and we are brought in for counsel when they need to better understand the other side of the coin. When in battle, an exorcist friend of ours constantly is dealing with families who have let Harry Potter into their homes and have since been struggling with demonic presences. We are told that we will know something by its fruit, but what is the fruit of Harry Potter? I don't see much of an uprising in selfless, sacrificial love, but I do see an uptake in occult obsession, a surge of occult books, even children's books that contain actual spells and instructions on how to use magic-related items, in bookstores, in libraries, and above all, possessions, oppressions, and obsessions of people and their homes." Defense number 5. If you condemn Harry Potter for using magic, then you would have to censure Lord of the Rings for the same reason.
Because people say, well, what about Tolkien? Tolkien had magic. I mean, is it just because of magic? No, it's not just because of the magic. It's the whole thing. But in Tolkien, the magic was a literary device. It wasn't something in which the person, when he heard Gandalf saying the magic, I want to be God Gandalf and do these magic things. That's not what you just didn't have that. It was just recognized that in this case, a certain thing beyond the natural means was necessary in order to bring something about. Whereas in the J.K. Rowling's thing, it's so imbued and it makes it look so glorious and all those things. It's really enticing, and that's another reason why I tell people don't let your kids read it.
Zachary King has also commented on the difference between the magic in Harry Potter as compared to that of Lord of the Rings. This is from a post he made on social media. Quote, "With fantasy novels such as Narnia and Lord of the Rings, you don't have anything repeatable, and the focus is on the people in them, not the magic being done. And there are consequences for people who attempt to do magic. Having something like Harry Potter, which not only makes kids so excited about the occult that they look it up and buy books, but actually have them running around chanting incantations and attempting to join covens. Or you have Lord of the Rings, where yes, there is some non-repeatable fantasy, you aren't likely to have any sort of draw to the occult through it. The main characters are flawed people like you and I who are fighting for truth and righteousness in the face of great difficulty. That is the focus. That is the story. While Gandalf may be a beloved character and your kid might hold up a stick and say, 'None shall pass,' that's a pretty far cry from repeating demonic incantations and being taught how to practice actual occult. Not to mention, as a Catholic book, there are a lot of parallels to what is good and divine versus what is evil that could be pointed out. But we do like it when parents make a point to distinguish the difference, that it is not okay to try these things yourself, but as long as they aren't adding true elements of the occult or including incantations or demonic names and symbols, we don't consider it a doorway to the demonic in your home." Unquote. Defense number 6. J.K. Rowling says she isn't a witch, she's a Christian. So I have here a picture of the tattoo that J.K. Rowling has on her wrist. It says, "Solve et coagula." The literal meaning of this Latin phrase is dissolve and coagulate, and it has its origins in alchemy. What is being missed when fans talk about this tattoo is that this is also a satanic motto, and in that context, what is meant by solve et coagula is to tear down the right order of things, which is God's order, and to rebuild with Satan as the principal architect. The link between this phrase and Satanism isn't a secret, and you can find satanic mugs and wall hangings with this motto for sale on Amazon. As Father Ripperger says,
Now, J.K. Rowling has denied she's a witch. Okay, you walk like one, you quack like one, you write books like one, so, okay.
As promised, I have saved a couple of the more shocking items for last. So here is Father Ripperger again to close things out for us.
One exorcist told me he's kind of done the footwork. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. He said 60% of the names in Harry Potter are actual names of demons that exorcists have booted out of people. I had a case of possession of a person who was possessed by 5 demons who claimed that they were the demons that inspired J.K. Rowling to write Harry Potter. So, I tell people, avoid it. All exorcists that are worth their weight, there's only one guy who says it's okay, but there's something wrong with that guy. But all the other exorcists that I know that are experienced are very clear. Stay away from it.
Thank you for watching. If you disagree with any of the statements or opinions expressed in this video, please tell me why in the comments. Please check out the description for links to all my sources and for a list of great books that your child could be reading instead of Harry Potter.